Hello and welcome to episode 110 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Of course, I am your host, Rick Doherty. On today's show, my friend Jay, known on social media as Aesthetic Puppet, will be joining me to talk about our fundraiser to buy sports equipment for Boys and Girls Club locations throughout the Orlando area. To be a part of our efforts, please send a $20 gift card for either Five Below or Dick's Sporting Goods to the email address orlandoballdrap1971@gmail.com by March 27th. That's orlandoballdrap1971@gmail.com. We will then use the gift cards to buy basketballs and soccer balls to distribute to the Boys and Girls Clubs. If you're looking for more information, check out my social media. On Twitter, I'm at Rick_ear. On Instagram, I'm at Rick Doherty, TGTT. And on TikTok, I am at Tall Guy Talks Travel. We really want to knock this out of the park. Elsewhere in social media, please make sure you're subscribed to the Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty YouTube channel. Last week, I recorded a ton of video from the first day of Epcot's International Flower and Garden Festival, but it was accidentally deleted. I was able to use that as an excuse to do everything over again so that I could share more of the experiences. Be looking forward to them on the YouTube channel. Right now, let's get started with my conversation with Jay. Thanks for being here, bro.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, so the first thing we're going to discuss is this ball collection drive that we are doing for the month of March. And it's something I've done on a very small scale for a number of years now, but I thought since we have all of these people, and I think that we have found a lot of people in the Disney community who are good people, let's take advantage of that, sort of pool our resources, and see if we can collect basketballs and soccer balls for Boys and Girls Club locations throughout the Orlando area. And already, just since we started this a little over a week ago, we're already doing very, very well. But maybe just talk a little bit about how us Disney adults get a bad rap, and we can sort of turn the tables on that and use our love of these theme parks to do some positive.
Sure. I would say that it's not just about a love of theme parks. It's about a love of Orlando in general and the Orlando community. You know, a lot of people come to Disney, they classify themselves as Disney adults. Well, the thing that makes all of that happen is largely Central Florida, especially the four counties that surround Central Florida. We're talking Osceola, Seminole, Orange, Lake counties, and even some of the outlying counties. Sorry if I didn't say your county, but it's the people that live here and work here and make this possible every day. We can extend that out to show a lot of goodwill. You know, I think it's a big community building exercise. It's just giving a little bit back to a community that's given us so much.
And one of the things that is happening, and you hear a lot of this in the talks about cast member pay. And recently, Universal gave team members a bump in pay, but CMs at Walt Disney World are still trying to get that bump in pay, which they so sorely deserve. But the cost of living in Orlando is skyrocketing. And one of the reasons that I think that this is such a good thing to do, such a good drive, is people are going to make sure that there are Boys and Girls Clubs. People are going to make sure that there are food shelters. But we want these kids who maybe are in families that are struggling to not just get the basics, but we want them to have fun. We want them to be able to find something. I played basketball throughout my youth into my adulthood, and it's something that I adored. It kept me motivated for school. It kept me healthy. It did all of those things. And in an area where there are a lot of people struggling, even though there's all of this tourist money coming in on a daily basis, I feel like this is something we can do to help people who are struggling.
Yeah, absolutely. If you think about you can probably find somebody in your life. I know multiple people in my life that have been touched by the Boys and Girls Club at one time or another, that have been a part of a Boys and Girls Club, either volunteered and helped out at one, or when they were a child played in rec leagues at one, or after school activities at one. People come here a lot and they see our beautiful theme parks. They see them, but they rarely get to see the beautiful communities around Central Florida and the great people, that the hardworking people that are here, that oftentimes, like you said, struggle to get by. And it's so important. I think doing things like this are so important to show that we love this community. It's not just about theme parks. Theme parks are an extension of fun. Like you said, I played in rec leagues when I was a youth, basketball, football, baseball. Those things build community. And, we try to do that with Disney. We try to do that around Disney and theme parks in general. But we also need to take that energy and expand it outward.
And one of the things about an area like Orlando, or I'm in the Tampa Bay area, which is close and has sort of the same dynamic happening, where you're not from Orlando. I'm from Pennsylvania. I moved to Arizona and then moved here. I'm not from this area. A lot of the people who are here, cast members, just Disney fans, they're people who came from other places. Maybe they were drawn in by the theme parks. Maybe they were drawn in by the beaches. Whatever it is, they're coming from somewhere else, and we're trying to build a community that is not just a bunch of people from a bunch of different parts of the country, or in some cases, even different parts of the world.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're sitting here talking. We were talking about Epcot before we went on the air here. We love Epcot because it's about bringing people together around different cultures, different backgrounds. Orlando, Tampa, the greater Central Florida area is a big melting pot of various cultures and various peoples. One of the beautiful things here is that we can do more than just go to a theme park. We can show ourselves, we can show humanity by reaching out to these organizations, whether it be the Boys and Girls Club or the Second Harvest Food Kitchen or Give Kids the World. There is hundreds of charities out there that could use this assistance or this help. We are working with the Boys and Girls Club, or to provide the Boys and Girls Club for this charity event. I think it's one of the more pure things that we can do. I mean, anybody can go in a theme park and stand there and watch fireworks, and we can share hugs and a good laugh, and that's amazing. But what do we do with that energy at the end of the day? Can we take it out, and can we go basically siphon it elsewhere to places that, in the community that can need our help?
I couldn't have said it better myself. Like, taking the positive energy, because there is so much positive energy. You can think about, maybe you're on a vacation. Maybe you don't live down here like Jay or myself, but you come down here, you have that day, you ride the rides, you see the fireworks show, Tinkerbell goes down the rope at the end of fireworks, and you just are feeling this sense of magic, and you're just up and you're hyped. I think of Happily Ever After, which is coming back soon, and you find that Happily Ever After, and you have all that positive energy, using it to do something like this. And that's one of the reasons that people like Jay, I love to gravitate towards in this community, because there are people who just have fun for fun's sake, and that's fine. But there are also people who want to try to make a difference, who understand how blessed we are to be able to do this kind of stuff all of the time. So every once in a while, we take that time to try to give back, because it's the best thing we can do with the megaphones that we've been given.
I mean, I tell people all the time in person, and I think you've heard me say this again around a theme park or around the community, is moving to Orlando, being in this community, moving to Central Florida changed my life. And if I can take that and make somebody else's day, week, month, year, moment better, then I'm all for that. I'd like to take that in. I'd like to show gratitude to the community that took me in. Take that and spread that love outward.
And now we're going to move on a little bit from the sappy stuff and talk about Disney in general. But before we do that, there's one more thing I want to mention. I actually met Jay for the first time because he was waiting in those infamous Figment popcorn bucket lines to try to buy a popcorn bucket for somebody who needed one, who wanted one, but at the time didn't have the money. And those are the kind of things. Gravitate towards those people in your life. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are fun when they're out drinking, and Jay is one of those. But but gravitate to the people who try to do good things with it. Now, I want to move on to some of the things that are happening in Walt Disney World right now. Specifically, you've gotten a chance to do something I haven't gotten to do yet, and that's ride Tron Light Cycle Run. I want to hear a pretty decent overview without spoilers about this ride.
So I love Tron Light Cycle Run. You're not going to hear me say anything bad about Tron Light Cycle Run, other than the fact that the ride is about a minute long. But we knew that going in because it's the same ride as Shanghai. I really feel it's a perfect addition to Tomorrowland. It fits amazing. The photos you can take there are great. If you're a big photo person with your family, your friends, just landscape backgrounds, fireworks, the photos are amazing. I would say the ride itself, the experience when they load you into the first room, Disney Imagineering does first room reveals better than anybody else of anything. I love first rooms where they put you in a room and you don't know what's going to happen, and then something happens and then it blows you away, and then you're like, oh well, we still got to go through this queue. Oh man, it really does it for you. But I love the ride. I think it's perfect for Magic Kingdom. I know a lot of people say it should be at Epcot, it should be at other places. Magic Kingdom needs more things to do. It is a wonderful ride. I would say, look, I've taken people on it that they're not really, coaster people, roller coaster people. They're kind of iffy on it, and they still ride it and still have a good time. I can't wait for April 4th so everybody can experience it. I don't understand how it elicits pure joy to me. So I have a good time every time that I'm on it.
So that's something that I did want to ask, because I'm not necessarily the biggest roller coaster fan. I like thrills. I do not like drops. And from what I've heard and what I've seen, there aren't any big drops in this one, correct?
That is correct. I mean, it's a launch coaster, so it's launched. It goes from a launch position. When it goes up through the canopy, that's probably the biggest thrill part of the ride. After that, you're in the building, and it's like I said, it's a minute long. I've encouraged everybody, as long as you don't get extreme motion sickness, and even I know somebody who last week that does get motion sickness, that took Dramamine and just went to it and had their eyes closed the entire time, but they did it. And I love the ride. I think it's expertly designed. We knew what it was coming in from. It was a cookie cutter of another ride, of the Shanghai version. We knew what it was. And I don't subscribe to this thing of like, oh, it's too short and I hate it or whatever. I think it's fine. I wish it was longer. I wish it was like, 30 seconds to a minute longer, but it is a thrilling ride. It's fun. I walk off of it every single time, and I've rode it multiple times where I go, man, that's a really, really, really good ride, and I'm glad it's here.
And I think your point is well received, that it is something that's needed in Magic Kingdom, because even though Magic Kingdom far and away has the most rides, it is the park that needs more rides, more than probably any of them. Maybe Animal Kingdom could use a few more rides as well, but with Splash Mountain now down for the retheming to Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and with the uncertainty of Space Mountain, because how sometimes that just absolutely destroys your back. This is an e-ticket attraction at one end of Magic Kingdom that you can just say, this is worth the hour wait, the hour and a half wait, because it is going to be thrilling. It's well themed. You're going to, like you said, get your pictures. I'm excited to ride it. The only thing that scares me is they say that your calves are the thing that really will restrict you from riding it. And I've got some thunderous calves. So
I have taken friends that have pretty thunderous calves, and they've got on it. I would say that. And they do have the test seat out front. So, and the bar that comes behind your calves you'll know immediately. It's not like they're going to send you through the queue and you're going to get caught at the last second. You'll know. It's definitely a thing. I know there's been a lot of apprehension about it. It's definitely a thing. I think that a lot of people were worried about upper body mass more than their calves at first, and it's really not about that. It's really about your calves. If the calf bar cannot lock into place, that's going to impede you from riding the light cycle.
That's
So,
kind of like Avatar Flight of Passage, where it's about how long your legs are, not anything to do with weight. It's literally just how long are your legs.
right.
And if I wear shoes with a thick sole, I can't ride Flight of Passage. And if I wear sandals, I can ride Flight of Passage. So,
Right, right. And I've been telling people like for the last couple of weeks, they're worried about the back brace on Tron. People were like thinking it's like the Flight of Passage one where it kind of locks in, and it does lock in, but there is give to it. Like there is a little bit of a give there. So it has to be just because you're in that uncomfortable position. There's flexibility in that back brace portion. People were like, "Oh, am I locked in? I'm going to feel claustrophobic locked with this back brace on me." No, the back brace actually moves up and down. It actually moves so much that I've seen people on rides, and admittedly myself, you can actually do the flying motion if you want. You can literally lift your
okay.
back up. You can lift your chest up. You can dolphin dive across, air and space if you want to. So, there's a little give there. I tell people that if you feel really claustrophobic in tight spaces, I'm trying to assuage people's fears of saying that you will not fear this ride. You should not fear this ride. You're in that position and it's flexible and you're there for a minute. So it's not too bad.
Right. Sometimes you just have to do the mind over matter and say, I'm not here forever. This is going to be 90 seconds at the most until they get me out of this thing.
Yep,
And I'm just going to be able to go to it.
exactly.
I think it's inevitable that this ride is going to be compared to Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind just because of the short amount of time in between the two of them opening. What are your thoughts compared to Cosmic Rewind, which I have ridden probably a couple dozen times by now? So, how would you compare this new ride to that new ride?
I like Cosmic Rewind more. People have been asking me this for weeks since I rode Tron. They know I rode Tron. They ask me, they say, what's your favorite ride at Walt Disney World? And I have different tiers of rides, but Cosmic Rewind is probably right now my favorite ride at Walt Disney World. I would put Tron in my top 5, but it's not going to be the same as Cosmic Rewind. Cosmic Rewind, the music, the presentation, the loading area, just everything about it is phenomenal. Just A+, out the gate. Tron, I wish it was longer. It probably takes away from it a little bit there. You also less people can ride because of the cab issue that we're talking about. That might come up with a lot of people, and that causes a little bit of anxiety for people. Where Cosmic Rewind is really a lot more friendly for more people to ride. I think that Cosmic Rewind is the better ride, but Tron does have its place.
Cosmic Rewind does a really good job of telling you the story if you have no idea anything about the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, you can ride that ride whether you've seen all the movies or if you've never seen a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. They explain to you what's happening, and basically you're just on a roller coaster that plays pretty killer music. How well do you think Tron tells a story, and is that story beholden on you having seen the Tron movies?
You don't have to see the Tron movies to get what's going on. I don't think you have to see the Tron movies to get what's going on. I've taken people that have literally never seen a Tron movie in their life and got the general premise. It may be a little bit, you could complain that it's a little bit general, but it's the understanding of, if you have an idea of what Tron is as a franchise, people in the digital grid, you are essentially in the digital grid, and that's what you're doing. And they basically explain to you, it's like a broken record in the queue, that you're going to be racing another team. Like, they tell you over and over and over again that this is your team color. This is the team you're racing's color. You have to win this race. It is implied that to get out of here, you're going to have to win this race. And that is the only story. Now, it doesn't have a lot of fancy storyboard like movie scenes or anything like that, but there is a general overview of what you're doing there. It reminds me a lot of ways. there's plenty of rides in other theme parks that have very minor storytelling like this that are perfectly fine, that you could find in other franchises, other franchise parks around the country. I don't think it's egregious that they didn't tell like some huge Flynn Rider story.
I agree. I actually think that having a ride that is loosely based on an IP sort of fights that critique that there are too many IP throughout Walt Disney World. Yes, this is attached to an IP, but if anybody can enjoy it, then it's just Space Mountain 2.0.
Yep,
One of the
exactly.
things that does kind of worry me about this is that it is a brand new ride. It looks gorgeous. It looks how Tomorrowland should look, and the rest of Tomorrowland is sorely outdated. And Space Mountain, like I mentioned earlier, how it can just pound your back. You can ride that ride and be hurting after it. Do you think it is possible that after this ride is really eating crowds, that we might get a new track on Space Mountain, that this might open up the ability to close down Space Mountain for a while and do something fresh?
Well, we're overdue for a track overlay, for a re overlay for Space Mountain. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. I don't think we'll get any movement in that until after Tiana's opens, just to
Absolutely.
not
Yeah.
just to not have too many attractions down. And we're talking about, coming out of D23 this past year, we're talking about three potential, I don't know, 5, 7, 10 years down the line, we're talking about three potential new areas or lands in Magic Kingdom as well. So I don't know where that fits in that space. It'll be interesting because I know that Tokyo is taking theirs down for what, 5 years, 3, 4 years, to redo their Space Mountain. I strongly suspect that they're going to be using the same technology from Cosmic Rewind for theirs.
Oh, yeah, that would actually make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
With Tron taking so long, and obviously, I am not one of these people who criticized Disney because there was a global pandemic. They made the decision that they were close to finishing Remy's, so they were going to finish Remy's, and then they had to do something with Epcot, so they were going to get Guardians done next. So I'm not criticizing how long it took to get Tron completed. But we've seen a lot of blue sky concept art in the last few years. And you mentioned Magic Kingdom could be getting this whole new Beyond Big Thunder Mountain that we saw. And I think all of us have very strong opinions about what might happen to Dino Land USA in Animal Kingdom. Don't even really want to get into that. I just don't think Zootopia works in that park, but that's a whole nother conversation. What do you think now that we're starting to see from that really big D23, where they made all of the announcements and promised us so much, and now we're starting to see, albeit a fraction of that, but now that we're starting to see some of those things actually come into fruition, and now they're teasing a little more. Do you think we might get some of that stuff? Are you optimistic or are you a realist?
I think we can't move on to any other projects after this until Epcot's construction's complete. The central spine has to be finished at Epcot first. That's been a mess for what, going on 4 years now. If you ride the monorail loop around Epcot, and you can see that construction space, they're not close to done. They're not even close. And I know that there was some talk about them being done this year, and I maybe they have a Herculean effort up their sleeve to get that done. I don't know. I just feel like every time I ride past there, it doesn't look like it's going to be done by the end of the year. I think that to move on to other projects, Epcot has to be in a completed state. Like, you have to be able to walk up the central spine into the World Showcase. We've had walls there for years now, and it's like that Moana's Journey of Water has to open. The Communicore stage and plaza has to open. We have to get these things open. If we don't, like, you can't move on to what's beyond Big Thunder Mountain. Now, anybody that's rode behind or taken a drive behind Magic Kingdom, yes, there is land there. There's room there. They can make those three lands in the Blue Sky project they talked about at D23 work. It's a huge undertaking. I'm hoping that they're going to be motivated, given the growth and expansion of their competitors in Orlando, to get that done. I'm hoping that drives them forward to do it faster and sooner rather than later, because 2025 is fast approaching. We're 2023 right now. We're March of 2023. We're close.
Epic Universe over at Universal Orlando Resort set for a 2025 opening, and they are busting through that construction. They are not messing around when it comes to that. They're building roller coasters. We're seeing show buildings going up every day. That is an impressive construction project they have. I could see Epcot opening Moana's Journey of Water. It looks like they are trying to get that done first because they're further along with that than they are with any of the other parts of that construction. And you are right. Before they deal with what's beyond Big Thunder Mountain, you have to be able to walk around Epcot. It's a park that eats a lot of annual pass holders, which is something that Disney does not want the annual pass holders going to Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. They want to funnel them to Epcot because they can buy festival food, because they can buy drinks. They want to make this as convenient a park as possible. It also plays a huge part in each and every Run Disney race. And the longer they have to send people going around weird courses, they would love to just get that middle part fixed, measure all the courses, and then let everybody run every race on the same course. There are a lot of reasons that Epcot does need to be the next one fixed. But once Epcot's fixed, if you do Beyond Big Thunder Mountain, the great thing about expanding instead of replacing is nobody will be affected by that construction. So right. As long as that's going on, you won't even notice it until you're staring at the goat at the top of the hill on Big Thunder. You won't see it in your general park day. And that's a big thing because everything with Galaxy's Edge and Toy Story Land, and then everything with Epcot, and now I think we're going to start seeing it over at Animal Kingdom a little more. All of that construction was really affecting your enjoyment of the park. Tron didn't affect your enjoyment of Magic Kingdom. If anything, watching the Tron construction enhanced your Magic Kingdom day. You got to see how far they had gone since the last time you were there. This Beyond Big Thunder Mountain, I don't think will affect your day in Magic Kingdom. But the Epcot construction, like you've mentioned, makes that park hard to navigate.
I could see only one way that it might affect your day, and it's the same with the Tron construction. If we're going behind Big Thunder Mountain, we may have to disrupt the railroad again. That's the only thing. Disrupting the railroad is a real possibility again. Like if you're going to build on that land, a lot of that land is beyond the railroad track. So you're disrupting the railroad probably again.
That is a very good point. So everybody, you've been rushing to get back on the railroad because it hasn't been open in forever. Well, make sure you keep riding it because we don't know how much longer we'll have it, because that was a real pain from getting around the park because you kind of forgot how convenient it was to be in Frontierland and just hop on the railroad and get back to the front of the park, especially if there's a parade going through or something like that. And then just, it's an aesthetically pleasing ride. It's a great ride.
And I'll tell you, I've done a couple other podcasts where, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention it here, is that the other thing that Disney can do over the next couple of years is that we talk about, what they need to do to Epcot, what they need to do to Magic Kingdom, what they need to do to Hollywood Studios, what they need to do to Animal Kingdom. One of the other big projects, or, I always hate when people evoke what Walt would have wanted or what Walt would have done or so on and so forth. But when Walt envisioned this, he envisioned the monorail as a means of public transportation for mass amounts of people. There was also concepts for a self-style, like people movers type thing that moved mass amounts of people between parks, which we have a people mover ride, but that was never really realized. So we ended up with 7,000 buses. And what I'm getting at is one of the other big projects that Disney should definitely undertake over the next 5 years is the western side of the resort expansion of the Skyliner. There's nothing more Walt than the Skyliner. And I believe that in my heart and soul that the Skyliner is efficient. It moves a lot of people. We should be tying in the All-Star Resorts, Blizzard Beach, Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge, Coronado, even Disney Springs should be tied in to that system.
I definitely agree, especially when you talk about the All-Star Resorts and Blizzard Beach.
Yeah, I mean, I would tell you, I feel like if you're out on that western side of the property, what are your transportation methods? You got your own car or you've got a bus a lot of the time. You don't really have any other options. The options that Walt envisioned of mass transportation, futuristic mass transportation that's convenient, easy to use, and get you around the resort doesn't exist there. You're taking buses that can oftentimes, you don't know, they could be late, they could be early, they could be 20 minutes late or whatever. That's not an efficient system. The Skyliner, like the monorail, like the ferry boats, can move a lot of people in a very short amount of time.
And people often mention, and it is true, Disney is a business. And if you want to convince Walt Disney World that they need this, show them how much they used to charge for Art of Animation and Pop Century rooms, and then show them what they charge for them now. Because the demand for Art of Animation and Pop Century after those Skyliners were put into place, they're value resorts in name only. Those things are priced out like moderates. And you're not getting moderate amenities except for the Skyliner, but people are willing to pay for it because it's so gosh darn convenient.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100% agree. 100% agree.
I didn't know where this conversation was going to go, Jay, but we went in a lot of different directions and I really enjoyed myself. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, well, thank you for having me again. It was great.
Tell people how they can find you on social media as we continue to promote this ball collecting fundraiser through March 27th.
You can find me at Aesthetic Puppet on Twitter, on TikTok, and on Instagram. Mostly on Twitter and TikTok these days, and that's where you can find me. I'll be tweeting about this and reminding people of March 27th, and you'll see me piggybacking off your announcements, and we'll be talking about how we're going to do this and do some good, and maybe have some fun in the meantime. Maybe do some little fun things just to promote.
And of course, then will come the day when we are dropping off all of these balls, which is going to be an undertaking in and of itself because you have already come out big time, but don't let that dissuade you. Yes, people have donated, but like we mentioned at the beginning of this show, there is a lot of need in the community and you can help. You can find plenty of information in the description to the podcast on how you can do this. Thank you so much, Jay. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Like we said, purchase $20 gift cards to Five Below or Dick's Sporting Goods and send them to Orlando Ball Drop 1971 at gmail.com by March 27th. Once again, that's Orlando Ball Drop 1971 at gmail.com. This has been episode 110 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. We'll be back next week when Marissa from Chicago will return for a third round of the popular conversation topic, Fact or Figment. Marissa and I take commonly held opinions in the Disney community and decide if they are facts or if they are figments. That will be next Thursday. Until then, have a great week.